What if I told you there's a pistol cartridge so powerful, it literally breaks guns? The .22 Winchester Magnum rimfire generates chamber pressures high enough to rip apart standard blowback actions. Yet most manufacturers won't touch it. But 5 daring companies cracked the code, and what they created will change everything you thought you knew about rimfire pistols. For over 6 decades, the .22 WMR has dominated the varmint hunting world with devastating terminal performance that turns prairie dogs into vapor. It's a bottlenecked rimfire cartridge operating at chamber pressures that dwarf the humble .22 LR by nearly 50%. While revolvers chamber this beast with ease, building a reliable semi-automatic is an engineering nightmare that's bankrupted companies and left countless prototypes in the scrap heap of firearms history. The problem? Pure physics. The .22 Magnum operates at approximately 24,000 facilitated by a revolutionary two-piece barrel assembly. But here's the masterstroke. Rock Island borrowed a page from the Beretta 92 playbook with an open-top slide design featuring top ejection. This massive ejection port makes stovepipe malfunctions virtually impossible, a critical feature for a cartridge notorious for extraction challenges in semi-autos. The result? A full-size pistol with a 4.75-inch barrel that holds 14 rounds of .22 Magnum and features a remarkably crisp trigger, breaking at just 4 to 6 pounds with minimal creep. The Pro model adds a full-length Picatinny rail, making it optics-ready for competition or serious varmint work. At approximately $599, the XT22 Magnum delivers 1911 ergonomics, reliable operation, and innovative engineering at a price point that undercuts premium competitors by $100 or more. For shooters who grew up on the 19 command, the PMR-30 occupies a unique niche. It's not a duty gun. It's not a precision target pistol. It's a specialized tool for those who understand that in uncertain times, capacity equals capability. Number 3. Walther WMP, the modern tactical solution. Everything changes in 2022. Walther, the legendary German manufacturer, dropped a bomb on the .22 Magnum market with the WMP, Walther Magnum pistol, a thoroughly modern, duty-oriented design that looks and handles like a contemporary centerfire pistol. This isn't some niche oddity. The WMP is a full-size polymer-framed handgun with a 4.5-inch barrel, standard accessory rail, and, most importantly, an optics-ready slide cut from the factory. Walther didn't just build a gun that shoots .22 Magnum. They built a modern handgun platform around it. The ergonomics are lifted straight from the beloved PPQM. Bull barrel, the accelerator is a giant. This isn't a lightweight plinker. It's a precision instrument forged from corrosion-resistant 17-4 stainless steel that looks and feels like it was carved from a solid block of metal. That mass is the secret sauce. The thick, rigid bull barrel is incredibly resistant to heat drift and minimizes barrel whip during firing, allowing shooters to extract every last bit of accuracy potential from the .22 WMR cartridge. Barrel harmonics, the enemy of precision, are virtually eliminated by sheer mass and rigidity. Here's the tragic part. XL Arms ceased operations several years ago, making the MP22 accelerator a sought-after collector's piece on the secondary market. Prices range from $400 to $700 depending on condition and availability, with parts and service nearly impossible to source. The single-stack magazine holds only 9 rounds, a significant familiar, comfortable M and P polymer frame. The pistol measures 8.4 inches long, 5.9 inches tall, and just 1.13 inches wide. A slim profile despite its full-size dimensions. At 22 ounces unloaded, it's remarkably light for a gas-operated pistol. The internal hammer-fired trigger breaks cleanly at approximately 3 pounds with minimal creep. Fiber optic front sights provide rapid target acquisition, while the optics-ready slide accepts most micro red dots with Shield RMSC footprint. And the capacity? 30 rounds. The M&P 22 Magnum ships standard with two 30-round polymer magazines, matching the PMR-30's class-leading capacity, but delivering it in a far more technologically advanced and reliable package. Velocity testing revealed the closed chamber design makes a significant difference. The 30-grain CCI loads gained over 100 feet per second. Different ways.
Pretty nice. Take a look at this.
For anyone who has ever held a piece of history in their hands, the weight of an old rifle is more than steel and wood. It's a story, sometimes a painful one, sometimes heroic, often complex, but always alive. Collecting rifles is not simply an expensive hobby for firearm enthusiasts. It is the preservation of mechanical design, military evolution, and the legacy of entire nations. Long before modern polymer frames and modular platforms became the norm, these older rifles laid the foundations of what we know today. Their machining was done in eras when craftsmen worked with their hands, when factories echoed with the metallic ring of forged steel, and when nations relied on these rifles as lifelines of their survival. Among the rifles that collectors chase, a few stand out repeatedly. They appear at estate sales, auctions, military surplus stores, and sometimes buried deep in forgotten trunks in attics. Each carries distinct characteristics, unique manufacturing traditions, and stories of battles that shaped continents. The Springfield Model 1903, for example, is one of those rifles whose story intertwines with the early phases of American modernization. Designed with inspiration from the Mauser system, the Springfield 03 has a reputation for almost exaggerated accuracy. When handled, it feels like a rifle crafted with patience rather than speed. Machining lines crisp, stocks walnut dark, actions smooth from decades of oiling. During both World Wars, the Springfield earned a reputation for being dependable in harsh conditions, while also serving as a favorite among early American marksmen. Today, collectors search relentlessly for variants like the 1903A1 or the sniper-designated 1903A4, knowing that these rifles symbolize the transition from rugged 19th century battle rifles into the precision age of the 20th century. On the other side of the Atlantic, the British Empire relied on the Lee-Enfield series, specifically the SMLE and later the No. 4 variants. While collectors often debate which Enfield is the best, the truth is that each carries its own legacy. The defining feature of the Lee-Enfield is its bolt, the fastest military bolt action ever fielded. The short bolt throw allowed British soldiers to fire rapid volleys, a technique famously demonstrated during training exercises, where riflemen could unleash an almost semi-automatic-like rate of fire. In the hands of disciplined troops, this rifle could hold the line against overwhelming numbers. Collectors today often seek rifles with regiment markings, unusual manufacturer stamps, or original wartime furniture. A No. 4 Mk1T sniper variant, fitted with a period-correct scope, can fetch high prices and is treasured for its role in both World War II and later conflicts. Every scratch on an Enfield stock seems like it hides a chapter of the soldier who carried it. Then there is the Mosin Nagant, a rifle that for decades was dismissed as the cheap surplus gun. For a long time, crates of Mosins sat in warehouses around the world, selling for tiny amounts because they were plentiful. But as geopolitical tensions shifted and as surplus supplies dried up, collectors started realizing something. Many Mosins had survived brutal winters, scorched earth retreats, and the harshest battles of the Eastern Front. Some rifles bear arsenal refurbish marks. Others still display the century-old stamps of Tsarist Russia. The most sought after are the PU sniper variants, made famous by snipers of the Second World War. When a collector finds a Mosin with a hex receiver, matching numbers, and an unforced history, they found something that only increases in value with time. These rifles are time capsules of a defeated empire, a revolution, and a relentless war machine that relied on rugged simplicity. Few rifles, however, command respect in the collecting world like the German Mauser K98K. The Mauser system influenced nearly every bolt-action rifle afterward. Its controlled round feeding, robust extractor, and overall reliability became the global standard. To handle a K98K is to experience mechanical precision that feels ahead of its era. Collectors seek markings that survived the war: small eagles, factory codes, proof stamps. Many rifles were captured, scrubbed, reissued, or rebuilt, making an all-matching K98, K one of the most prized finds. A laminated stock, original sling, and untouched finish send collectors into bidding frenzies. Beyond its engineering, the K98Ki represents a turbulent part of history. A rifle held by soldiers in countless battles, from Eastern Front winters to North African deserts. Its legacy is as much political as it is mechanical. As warfare evolved and semi-automatic rifles replaced bolt actions, the M1 Garand emerged as an icon of American ingenuity. When General George Patton famously called it the greatest battle implement ever devised, he wasn't exaggerating. Compared to the bolt rifles of the time, the Garand offered a faster rate of fire, superior ergonomics, and an unmistakable ping when the en-bloc clip ejected. In the hands of American soldiers storming beaches, holding positions, or pushing through frozen valleys, the Garand became a symbol of perseverance and overwhelming firepower. Collectors treasure early World War II production models, rifles with original barrels, and those carrying the marks of specific armories. The civilian marksmanship program has released many Garands into public hands, but as supply tightens, their value increases dramatically. Owning an M1 Garand is like owning a piece of American spirit. Strong, reliable, and uncompromising. Parallel to military rifles, the world of sporting rifles produced its own masterpiece, the Winchester Model 70, often referred to as the rifleman's rifle. Before 1964, Winchester crafted the Model 70 with exceptional attention to detail, using controlled round feed actions beloved by hunters, marksmen, and collectors. The pre-64 Model 70 represents the height of American craftsmanship, with rifles chambered in calibers from .30-006 to .37.5H and H Magnum. As the Cold War intensified, new rifle designs reflected evolving military philosophy. The FNFAL became known as the right arm of the free world, adopted by over 90 countries. Its sleek profile, 7.62 by 51 chambering, and adjustable gas system made it one of the most advanced battle rifles of its time. Collectors today look for pre-ban FALs, especially those made on original Belgian FN receivers, which possess unmatched quality. Different nations produce their own versions, each with unique features. Canadian C1 models, British L1A1 pattern. Rifles, Austrian St. G58s, and South African variants. Owning an FAL feels like holding a piece of Cold War tension, where global alliances were defined partly by the rifles nations carried. From Belgian craftsmanship to German engineering, the HKG-3 and its precursor, the CETME, introduced a revolutionary roller-delayed blowback system. This design eliminated the need for a traditional gas system and became a hallmark of Heckler & Koch's identity. The rifles are distinctive, solid, industrial, and reliable in nearly any condition. Collectors hunt for early set-me models, original G3s with matching parts, or rare configurations produced for specific militaries. The G3 platform would go on to influence many other firearms, and it remains a testament to Germany's engineering renaissance after the war. A shift toward futuristic design arrived with the Steyr AUG, an iconic bullpup rifle that looked like it belonged in a science fiction film when it was introduced. With its polymer frame, integrated optics, quick-change barrel system, and compact layout, the AUG challenged traditional rifle design. Military forces across the world adopted it, appreciating its modern ergonomics and adaptability. Collectors especially desire early pre-ban AUGA-1 models, featuring the signature scope ring optic and translucent magazines. For many, the AUG represents the moment when rifles stepped boldly into the future and embraced new materials and philosophies. But perhaps no rifle has influenced modern firearms culture more deeply than the original Colt AR-15 SP1. Long before the AR platform became the most common rifle in America, the SP1 introduced civilians to lightweight aluminum receivers, modular components, and an entirely different shooting experience. Collectors value early SP1s not just for nostalgia, but because they mark the birth of a platform that would eventually dominate sporting, competition, and defensive markets. The slender handguards, triangular front sight, and original furniture make the rifle visually distinct from modern AR variants. Pre-ban Colts, especially low serial number SP1s, are among the most sought-after collector rifles in the civilian market. Few rifles offer that kind of human connection. Beyond specific models, the culture around collecting itself is expanding. Younger collectors are entering the space with fresh perspectives and greater interest in the technical and mechanical aspects of rifles. They see these firearms not just as relics, but as analog masterpieces in a digital world. They admire the machining, the steel quality, the hand-fitting, and the craftsmanship that took place without CNC machines or computer modeling. Sometimes a rifle is simply too rare or too pristine. Other times, the goal is not shooting but studying, admiring, preserving. And for many, the ultimate reward is knowing that they are safeguarding artifacts that existed long before they were born and will hopefully remain long after they're gone. In the end, the rifles collectors hold on to are more than investments. They are the culmination of human ingenuity and struggle, symbols of courage and tragedy, and reminders of how far technology has come. Each rifle, whether battered and scarred or polished and pristine, represents a moment in history and an evolution in design. For those who understand this world, collecting isn't about quantity, it's about connection. The rifles chosen, preserved, cherished, and admired form a personal museum, each piece telling its own story, each one holding a place in a timeline far bigger than any individual. And as time marches on, selling even one of these guns could be the most expensive quick cash decision you ever make. Because once they're gone, you may never be able to afford getting them back. In 2025, guns are more than tools or toys. They're rolling pieces of history, mechanical art, and in many cases, better long-term stores of value than what's sitting in your savings account. Some of them are tied to legendary wars, others to elite special operations, and a few look so unassuming that people trade them away for pennies, only to realize years later they let a future classic slip through their fingers. This list is about preventing that regret. If you own any of these 17 firearms, think twice, maybe 3 times, before you ever consider selling. Let's start with a rifle that literally packs itself away and floats if you drop it in the lake. The Henry AR-7 survival rifle looks like something you might toss in a trunk and forget about, but that's exactly why it's dangerous to underestimate. Designed by Eugene Stoner, the same mind behind the AR-15 platform, the AR-7 was originally intended as a compact survival rifle for downed Air Force pilots. It breaks down into barrel, receiver, and magazine, and every piece locks into its hollow buttstock, shrinking the whole thing into a 16-inch package that's light, watertight, and buoyant. If the AR-7 is the quiet survival hero, the Marlin 336 is the lever-action icon you'll kick yourself for selling the moment deer season comes around. Introduced in 1948, the 336 has anchored American hunting camps for generations. With its classic .30-30 chambering, rugged construction, and fast-cycling lever action. Modern iterations with stainless steel and laminate stocks add weather resistance without losing that old-school charm. And features like ghost ring sights and optics rails bring it right into the 2025 hunting world. Now, imagine holding a piece of World War II history that still shoots, as well as many modern rifles. That's the Karabiner 98K. The Kar 98K was the standard-issue German rifle in World War II, chambered in the hard-hitting 7.92 by 57 Mauser. It's known for its rugged reliability, smooth bolt, and battlefield accuracy, and a good, unmolested example carries both historical and financial weight. Every year, more of these rifles get sporterized, parted out, or locked away in permanent collections. From battlefield history to classic wheelgun elegance, the Smith & Wesson Model 25-2 is exactly the kind of revolver that looks old school to some and irreplaceable to others. Introduced in the 1950s as a target revolver in .45 ACP, it rides on the beefy end frame and feeds from half-moon or full-moon clips, giving you quick reloads with a big-bore cartridge that's still widely available today. Speaking of revolvers with soul, the Colt Diamondback is one of those guns that people used to walk past in display cases and now hunt for like buried treasure. Built from the mid-1960s to the late 80s, the Diamondback came in .22 LR and .38 Special, with barrel lengths from snub-nose carry to 6-inch target configurations. It wears a ventilated rib, full underlug, wide hammer, and fully adjustable sights, giving it a sleek baby python aesthetic that's become hugely desirable with collectors. Now, what if you're more into modern carry pistols than wood and blued steel? Even then, some modern designs are aging into future classics, and the CZP-10C is a prime example. Launched to go head-to-head with the king of compact duty pistols, the Glock 19, the P-10C came out swinging with a crisp trigger, excellent ergonomics, and a 15+1 capacity in 9mm. On the complete other end of the handgun spectrum sits the H&K Mark 23, a pistol so overbuilt it almost feels like a dare. Developed for U.S. Special Operations Command, this 45 ACP monster was designed around extreme reliability, brutal endurance testing, and suppressed use in the harshest conditions. We're talking about a gun that endured tens of thousands of rounds in testing, with match-grade accuracy and a threaded barrel ready for serious work. If you sell one, you're not just selling a gun, you're giving up a piece of elite military design philosophy that's unlikely to ever be duplicated in the same way again. If you appreciate revolvers but want something more practical, versatile, and still collectible, the Smith & Wesson Model 686 hits that sweet spot. Introduced in 1980 and built on the stainless L frame, the 686 handles full-house .357 Magnum while still being comfortable enough to shoot soft .38 Special all day. Its corrosion-resistant construction, adjustable sights, and balanced weight made it a favorite of law enforcement officers and serious shooters alike. Over time, the 686 line has branched into multiple barrel lengths and configurations, but across the board, it has held a reputation for reliability and shootability. Let's move from handguns to shotguns that you'll absolutely miss when you need something that just works. The Beretta 1301 is a semi-automatic 12-gauge that has become a go-to choice for law enforcement, competitors, and serious home defense shooters. Its gas-operated system cycles fast, keeps recoil manageable, and keeps you on target for quick follow-up shots, all while staying compact and maneuverable. Next up is a pistol that has already written its name into service pistol history, the SIG Sauer P226. Introduced in the 1980s, the P226 was built for durability, accuracy, and high capacity, with a double-stack magazine and a double-action, single-action trigger system. It became a serious contender in military trials and went on to be adopted by elite units and law enforcement agencies around the world. Now consider the Mossberg 590, a pump-action shotgun with a reputation for toughness that borders on legendary. Often used by military and police, the 590's heavy-walled barrel, dual-action bars, and generous magazine tube make it a serious choice for defense and duty. Ambidextrous safety placement, simple manual of arms, and a host of configurations, from plain bead sight guns to fully set-up tactical models, make it incredibly adaptable. Of course, any list like this has to include the Remington 870. Introduced in 1950, the 870 is one of the best-selling pump shotguns in history, with millions produced and used for hunting, sport, law enforcement, and home defense. Its steel receiver, dual-action bars, and strong aftermarket support have made it a true build-it-your-way platform. Climbing up into full-power battle rifle territory, the HNK G3 sits as one of the most influential 7.6 2x51 NATO rifles ever fielded. Developed in the 1950s and widely adopted across the globe, the G3 uses a roller-delayed blowback system that helped define HNK's future rifle designs. Millions have been produced, licensed, and exported, making it a staple in Cold War and post-Cold War conflicts. For collectors and enthusiasts, a genuine G3, or high-quality civilian clone, isn't just a shooter. It's a representation of an era of robust steel and wood battle rifles that modern lightweight platforms simply don't replicate. If the G3 represents one branch of battle rifle evolution, the FNSCARH, also known as the MK17, represents the slick, modular, modern counterpart. Built for U.S. special operations, chambered in 7.62 by 51 NATO, and using a short-stroke gas piston, the SCAR-H delivers reliability in harsh conditions with excellent accuracy. Its folding, adjustable stock, fully ambidextrous controls, and monolithic rail system make it adaptable to nearly any mission profile or shooter preference. Then there's the AR-15, the most modular rifle platform in civilian hands today. Originally introduced in the late 1950s and evolving through decades of military and commercial use, the AR-15 has become a blank canvas for shooters. Calibers, barrel lengths, triggers, stocks, nearly every component can be swapped, upgraded, or tuned to specific roles, from precision shooting to home defense to competition. That flexibility, combined with a vast ecosystem of aftermarket parts, means a well-set-up AR-15 isn't just a rifle. It's your rifle, built around your preferences. Right behind it in legendary status is the AKM, the modernized stamped receiver evolution of the original AK-47. Built to be lighter, easier, and cheaper to mass produce, while retaining the AK's bomb-proof reliability in harsh conditions, the AKM became the standard rifle for countless countries. Chambered in 7.62 by 39, it strikes a balance between manageable recoil, solid terminal performance, and practical range. The AKM's global spread and cultural presence are unmatched, but that doesn't mean good examples are easy to find. And finally, there's the Glock 17, the pistol that changed everything. Introduced in the early 1980s, this full-size 9mm with a polymer frame and striker-fired action redefined what a duty handgun could be. It brought high capacity, lightweight, corrosion resistance, and simple operation into one package that police and militaries around the world embraced. The Safe Action system keeps the manual of arms straightforward while still incorporating multiple internal safeties. With a standard 17-round magazine, excellent parts availability, and a reputation for surviving round counts that would choke other pistols, the Glock 17 has become the benchmark against which other service pistols are judged. They're chapters of firearms history, trusted tools in bad situations, and, in many cases, appreciating assets. Once they leave your hands, they may never come back, at least not for a price or in a condition you'll be happy with. Hold on to them now, and years from today, you won't just be glad you kept the gun, you'll be glad you kept the story, the history, and the value that came with it. Let me tell you something real quick. Most people online talk about reliable pistols like it's a fashion contest, but when you actually drag those guns through mud, sand, heat, and abuse, most of them tap out. This list isn't about what looks good in a thumbnail or what some fanboy swears by in the comments. These are the 13 pistols that got shoved straight through hell, dropped, buried, run filthy, starved of oil, limp-wristed, and hammered with thousands of rounds, and still refuse to quit. By the time you hear number 1, you're going to have a completely different idea of what reliable really means. Before getting into the guns, here's the deal. Marketing claims don't matter under pressure. You can have the prettiest trigger, coolest slide cuts, and the nicest Cerakote in the state. But if the pistol chokes when it's hot, dirty, or handled badly, it's just an expensive paperweight. What matters is what survives the gauntlet: Mud baths, dust storms, cold nights in the truck, range days where nobody bothers to clean or lube anything, and real-world carry conditions where guns get sweat on, dropped, and forgotten. Every pistol on this list didn't perform well in that environment. It made it out with 0 failures. Not one stovepipe, not one light strike, not one tap-rack bang moment. Let's start with one of the most predictable names that still somehow keeps earning its spot, the Glock 19 Gen 5. You've heard the hype 1,000 times, but strip the fanboy noise away, and what you have is a compact workhorse that just doesn't know how to stop. Think of it like your granddad's old wrench, the ugly one with the tape on the handle that still beats every fancy tool set off Amazon. This thing has been thrown in glove boxes for years, dropped out of trucks, buried in ranch dirt, and pulled out after being ignored for seasons at a time. And it still goes bang every single time you pull the trigger. Cops carry it, military units trust it, and internet torture test channels have tried everything short of running it over with a train to make it fail. It's not pretty, it's not exotic, but when things go sideways and you can only grab one pistol, this is that no questions asked pick. Right behind it is the full-metal bruiser that laughs at polymer trends, the CZ75S P01 Tactical. If the Glock 19 is the beat-up wrench, the SP01 is the sledgehammer with a graduate degree. It's heavy, unapologetically steel, and it doesn't care about your lightweight carry obsession. But once you start shooting it, the weight turns into a cheat code. The slide runs like it's on polished rails, the recoil feels more like a firm handshake than a slap, and shot after shot stays where you put it. This gun has seen muddy ranges, cold mornings, sweaty summer matches, and rough handling that would make a safe queen cry. And it still cycles like a sewing machine stitched out of concrete. This isn't a gun, you baby. It's a gun you drag through your worst days and expect to work anyway. Then there's the SIG P226 Legion, the pistol that proves duty grade can still feel refined. This gun has been run in brutal conditions, thousands upon thousands of rounds through sandy, dusty, scorching days, and it just chews brass like someone owes it money. You can shoot it until your hands are tired, the slide is hot enough to fry breakfast on, and the mags are coated in grime, and the Legion keeps feeding like it's on a mission not to embarrass you. The trigger break is crisp, the reset is short, and the overall feel screams grown-up sidearm. When people talk about a pistol that gives them confidence in the worst scenarios, this one shows up again and again, not because it's trendy, but because it has proven it will not quit. On the quiet professional side of the list, you have pistols like the HKV P9 Tactical. This is the gun that guys who've seen real chaos keep around, not because it's flashy, but because they never have to second-guess it. It rides under truck seats, gets dropped in the dirt, gets rained on, and still delivers the same clean, deliberate cycle every time the trigger is pulled. The reset snaps back faster than your finger is ready. The controls are intuitive, and it just shrugs off neglect. It's the pistol equivalent of that one coworker who never calls in sick, never complains, and always gets the job done. Other guns demand your attention. This one just wants to be there when everything else breaks. Now swing over to the Smith & Wesson M&PM 2.0 Compact Metal. This pistol does not care about being photogenic. You can drag it across an unpaved road, drop it out of a bed of a pickup, spill coffee on it, and shove it back into a holster with dust still clinging to it. And it will treat you like nothing happened. The grip texture is borderline rude, designed for hands that are wet, sweaty, or numb, not for posing on social media. The trigger is improved, tight, and honest. It's a gun built for those times you're on a dirt road at night and hear something moving in the brush. It's not here for aesthetics. It's here for the part of your life where nice to have becomes need this to work right now. The Walther PDP full size makes the list because it simply doesn't care what your ammo budget looks like. Cheap steel, brass, reloads from that one sketchy friend. It just keeps cycling. Starve it of oil, forget to clean it for multiple range sessions, drop it in sand, pull it back out, and it still runs like it's trying to earn a competition trophy. The grip digs in just enough to lock you in. The trigger brake feels like it belongs on something far more expensive. And recoil is so manageable it almost feels disrespectful. If you want a pistol that flat out refuses to be picky or fragile, this is the one you use to embarrass every other premium gun that chokes on budget ammo. Then there's the FN509 Compact MRD, a pistol that comes from a lineage of surviving military trials. Most guns would fail in the first week. This gun has been dropped in fine sand, soaked in mud, stuffed under waistbands in brutal heat, and forgotten on tailgates during storms. Yet when you pick it up and press the trigger, it answers. The optic-ready slide, rugged build, and no-nonsense controls aren't about looking cool. They're about keeping the gun as close to bomb-proof as a 9mm can reasonably get. This pistol isn't an accessory. It's a tool for people who don't have time to worry whether their gun is in the mood to work today. When the list gets to pistols like the Springfield XDM Elite Tactical OSP, things start to feel almost unfair. This gun has eaten through obscene amounts of ammo in one sitting, mag after mag after mag, without a single stoppage. Online, some people call it bulky or overkill. At the range, it just keeps punching holes exactly where it's pointed. Slide wear, frame scratches, carbon buildup, it treats all of that like cosmetic inconvenience. The longer you run it, the more it feels like it was built not just to last, but to be actively abused. It's not here to impress influencers, it's here to show up every single time you need it. And you can't ignore the budget surprise category. Guns like the Canik TP9 series style pistols, or Turkish-built tanks that people bought just to see and ended up falling in love with. These are the guns that came in with low expectations and left with legendary reputations. Thrown into sandy ranges, baked in summer heat with no lube, run well over 1,000 rounds in a session. They just kept running. Shooters kept them dirty on purpose, waiting for their first hiccup, and walked away disappointed only because the failure never came. No pedigree, no big brand aura, just raw performance that embarrasses more expensive options. You also get the old workhorses on this list, like the Ruger SR9, guns that manufacturers quietly discontinued while owners quietly refused to let go. These pistols have lived under truck seats, in dusty duffel bags, and inside damp barns. They've been pulled out half-rusted, scraped off, racked once, and emptied into steel targets with not a single cough. Folks keep them around not because they're pretty or trending, but because those guns have already proven they'll still work after years of neglect. It's the definition of a trust gun. Not fancy, not modern, but always ready. Throw in the Beretta M9, and the story gets even more old school. This is the pistol that survived war zones before it survived toolboxes and glove compartments. There are M9s out there that have seen sandstorms, jungle humidity, and catastrophic weather, then came home to ride around in civilian trucks, and still function when dragged out years later. It's not a lightweight carry, darling, and definitely not the hot new release. But if you want a history of surviving brutal environments and bad habits, this thing has a resume no influencer gun can match. Then you've got the Walther PPQM2, a sleeper that never quite reached meme status but quietly outshot and outlasted a lot of more famous pistols. High round counts, minimal part swaps, negligent cleaning, and still zero failures. Its internals and trigger feel like something designed by engineers who cared more about feel and reliability than about chasing whatever trend was buzzing that year. In a world obsessed with new models, this one just kept showing up to the range and doing its job without complaint. On the polymer legend side again, the Glock 17 Gen 5 makes its appearance as the big brother that simply refuses to die. This is the gun that has been frozen, baked, dragged, dropped, and jammed full of pocket lint and debris, and yet keeps unloading full mags like nothing happened. Law enforcement, security, and serious shooters use it because it behaves the same on day 1, day 1000, and after every stupid thing some YouTuber tries to do to break it. If you want full-size predictability under chaos, this is it. Of course, the list has to end with something different. The Smith & Wesson 686 Plus. Yes, a revolver in a sea of semi-autos, but this one earns its place. In a world where feeds can jam, mags can fail, and springs can get tired, the 686 Plus just keeps cycling as long as your finger works and you've got rounds in the cylinder. Decades of use, miserable weather, hard carry, and you still get that same solid lockup and bark every time you roll the trigger. It's heavy, it's old school, but if your only requirement is, "This must fire when I need it," there are not many things more reassuring than a battle-tested .357 that refuses to go out of style. Put all of these together, and a pattern appears. Reliable pistols don't care about your opinions. They don't care about brand wars in the comments section, or which one has the fanciest trigger shoe. The guns that passed every test share the same traits. They run dirty, they run hot, they run abused, and they do it again tomorrow. They're built with tolerances, materials, and design choices that favor function over everything else. Some are polymer workhorses, some are steel tanks, and one is a revolver throwing it back to an era before slide serration debates. But they all share the same result when it matters: 0 failures. And here's the real takeaway. The difference between owning a pistol and trusting a pistol with your life is what happens under pressure. Anybody can look good on a clean range with fresh ammo and perfect lighting. The guns on this list earned their place when the conditions were terrible, the maintenance was lazy, and the stakes felt real. So if you're building a carry setup, a home defense lineup, or just want one gun you know will still be working when everything else has broken, don't get hypnotized by popularity. Look for the pistols that have already proven themselves in the dirt, the heat, the cold, and the chaos. If you made it this far, you're clearly serious about what you put in your holster or beside your bed. So here's your move. Don't just chase hype, chase history. Pick the pistol that has already passed every test, not the one that should be reliable someday. And when you're done here, hit like, drop the name of the gun you'd trust in your worst-case scenario down in the comments, and subscribe. Because next time, it's all about the guns everyone trusts, but absolutely shouldn't.